Dude, you can do whatever you want. You could kill somebody in front of me, and I wouldn't care.
I know it's been a while since I've made a Guild Wars 2 video, and I'm sure that you are bored of all of the standard gold guides, reviews, and build guides that infest the Guild Wars 2 YouTube space. So today I'm bringing you a discussion, a thought process on where we think this franchise is going and the rather dangerous approach that Arenanet might be taking. I will give you my thoughts on what is going to happen with the community, what I think is going to happen with the studio, and what the future looks like for this franchise in general. While there will be some supporting visuals in this video, it is largely a thought experiment, so if you want to throw this video on a second monitor, you can. Without further ado, let's get started. Arenanet has had its fair share of mishaps in regards to its game releases. Back before Path of Fire was released, there were a slew of leaks that basically revealed the entire game to the community and all of the features, leaving Arenanet almost nothing to work with in terms of building hype around their product. They have never been great at marketing as a whole, largely ignoring it entirely, and when they didn't ignore it, they had some of the cringiest or outright confusing advertisements that basically the game industry has ever seen. But a little over a year ago, during an NCSoft shareholders meeting, one of these individuals tried to quell fears among stakeholders by stating, I know things look grim, but don't worry, Guild Wars 3 is in development. This led the community to be largely divided. Most people were confused overall, considering that the messaging we had received from Arenanet was that we were transitioning to a new annual expansion model, which is the current iteration of what we have, and their focus was on developing Guild Wars 2. This is their official stance currently. However, people have been speculating. Since then, we have had little to no information on the unannounced project, which people think is Guild Wars 3. So let's talk about the situation that Arenanet is in. Let's take the NCSoft shareholder as a valid source of information, and for one thing only, that is, there is something brewing at Arenanet. Maybe it is actually Guild Wars 3, maybe it's an entirely separate IP from the Guild Wars 2 franchise as a whole, and the Guild Wars 3 is just a placeholder for whatever that title is. These are some of the things that I think the studio should consider moving forward, and after we go over this, I will share what I feel the community is going to experience as well. From my point of view, Arenanet is clearly working on something. There are a few options of what they could be working on. So let's go with the first option, that what they are working on is internal to the Guild Wars 2 universe and is Guild Wars 3. Arenanet did this in the past with Guild Wars 2, where they stopped developing Guild Wars 1 and opted to put the game in maintenance mode, which is still entirely playable and different enough from Guild Wars 2 that it really does feel like a different game. Arenanet leadership has expressed regrets on not managing to develop both games simultaneously, which makes me wonder if they will learn from that mistake and decide to develop both Guild Wars 2 and Guild Wars 3 in tandem. There is some precedence in industry to support that, and this can be lucrative and profitable. World of Warcraft has retail, classic Cataclysm, classic with hardcore servers and so on, and given enough manpower and monetary incentive, there is a standard for maintaining different strands of the same game or of the same genre at the same studio. So do I think they will do that? Well, maybe. The second alternative is that this hypothetical Guild Wars 3 is not Guild Wars at all. This is a new franchise altogether, completely unrelated to the world of Tyria. This might be the best bet for Arenanet if they intend on developing multiple games simultaneously. It would be a way to break away from the stigma that Guild Wars 2 has in the larger MMO sphere. On Reddit and on the relatively small Twitch community that Guild Wars 2 has, people might not think that there is stigma. However, on the more hardcore or larger MMO communities, Guild Wars 2 is a dead game. The rumor of Guild Wars 2 Death has been around for years now. And while yes, the game is still being updated and getting expansions, and the content stream is nowhere near that of larger studios, the unannounced project or the new franchise route might be a way for Arenanet to get out from under the Guild Wars 2 dead stigma, while they are supporting their only golden goose, which is in its yearly expansion cadence. I see the dual development idea only really works if the unannounced project is not Guild Wars 3. If Arenanet really wanted to, they could dual develop Guild Wars 1 alongside Guild Wars 2, but they didn't. Even after they decided to put it in maintenance mode and then realized that that was a mistake, they could always go back and make more content for Guild Wars 1. And let me tell you this, if Guild Wars 1 did get an expansion that was on the level of Nightfall or of Factions, or they even announced that they would be releasing yearly expansions in Guild Wars 1, I bet that they would make money off of it. I know that I would 100% buy a 2025 Guild Wars 1 expansion if it was announced. But let's talk about Guild Wars 3. I feel that if Arenanet does develop a Guild Wars 3, which is an MMO using more modern tech, there is significant risk involved. In the event that it does fail to deliver or has critical flaws on launch, you have now killed your golden goose. It is unlikely that people will consistently play and spend money on a game that is no longer being developed, so you are essentially just jumping from one burning boat to another burning boat. The vast majority of MMOs released have had lackluster performance overall, New World and Throne and Liberty being the most current mediocre releases to this genre, and I can see the vast majority of Guild Wars 2 players just choosing to walk away from the genre entirely or going to World of Warcraft, which has had a proven track record of content. Even though WoW is not without its own problems, the biggest turnoff for the Guild Wars 2 player base would be the subscription fee. Money. The name of the game is money. In business, money talks and bullshit walks, and Arenanet, despite their inspirational Bellevue, Washington inspired ideology, cannot simply make art to make art. They need to make art to make money. And what largely undermines the game industry is the way to monetize video games. And most publishers would take one Genshin Impact over 10 Guild Wars 2s. So Arenanet will have to build their game that can effectively be monetized to a degree that exceeds Guild Wars 2's potential earnings, while not detonating their current player base, which from my point of view is almost impossible. As it stands, Guild Wars 2's main appeal is that it is a budget-friendly MMO with moderately priced expansions and incentivizing gem store purchases over almost everything else in the game, which is entirely optional. However, if they were to give up developing Guild Wars 2 in favor of moving towards a new MMO or a replacement, it would have to be monetized in a way that allows for the low to no spenders to take part if they want to maintain their community. Otherwise, these players would feel abandoned and left behind and likely walk away from the franchise altogether. Betrayal. Betrayal will largely be the emotion felt by many if Guild Wars 3 is outside of the franchise and Guild Wars 2 ceases to be developed, like your favorite TV show getting passed up for renewal or getting some rushed ending halfway through the storyline. Many players will feel like the potential that the game had was wasted entirely. Some people already feel this. Their time and money was wasted, and I mean, it already kind of was, and they are largely not going to support the new project. There are some that will support it no matter what, and frankly, a good game is a good game and will carry regardless, and that is what Arenanet needs to produce. The community largely felt betrayed when Guild Wars 3 was leaked in the first place, and basically the feeling that the community has is like you are suspecting that your girlfriend or your spouse is cheating on you, but when it comes out, and I'm pretty confident it won't be that much longer before Guild Wars 3 or whatever this project is does come out, and the truth is revealed, it is going to be a tough pill to swallow, and the last holdouts will be devastated. Transparency. The issue here is largely with transparency. Many people have what they consider to be a symbiotic relationship with their game. You support the studio provides you with a product that you enjoy. Arenanet has always struggled with communication, Some periods have been worse than others, but I feel like them completely ignoring the various feedback that they have been given about small patch sizes or underwhelming design choices leads to them being stuck in a corner. I've discussed this in the past, stating that they have about 360 people working at the studio, and the question is, how many people are working on Guild Wars 2? Is it half? Is it a third? In game dev land, most studios typically do have about a quarter of their staff working on upcoming things or new projects, maybe more for larger studios depending on the project sizes. So it should be easy to come out with these numbers and give the player base a warm and fuzzy. The fact that they really haven't done this is likely because it is bad optics. Let's say that it is like a third of the studio is working on Guild Wars 2. How does that look in comparison to some of the communication we've gotten a few years ago where they said that they were full steam ahead on Guild Wars 2? You see what I'm saying? There's no way out of it. And I don't know exactly what is happening behind the scenes, and I'm sure that those who do are under NDA, so it's really unlikely that we are going to be seeing anything definitive until it happens. I'll definitely be writing things out, but as far as this video goes, if you could share your thoughts in the comments section and we can get some good discussions going, that is the ultimate goal. I think that the community will largely be split, and I think that once the full announcements come out on what Guild Wars 2's unannounced project is, or if they decide to scrap it through other circumstances, it is going to be largely negative for the studio. I think that there will always be a place for the low or no spend category for Guild Wars 2. It is a very, very moderately priced game with a lot of content for that price. But attracting a bunch of players that are not willing to give you any money does not spell success for the studio, and it does not incentivize the studio to maintain the development of that game, or in this case, of Guild Wars 2. Now, the reason why I'm sharing my thoughts on this video is largely inspired by Teapot asking me about my thoughts on it on stream, and I was going to share them with him and have a discussion with him on stream, but it is really hard to find time between both of our busy schedules. Depending on how much interaction we get below, I might follow up with him and see if we can get some real discussions going. I'm sure that he's going to watch this video and be in the comments section as well. So with that, how do you feel about Arenanet's unannounced project? Are you excited? Are you cautious? Have you given up? I am genuinely curious, and I know other prominent figures of this community are curious as well. With that, I want to thank you for watching. A big thanks to all my subscribers, and a special thanks to all of my members here on YouTube who support the channel. Please leave your thoughts below, and thank you for watching. I will catch you on the next one. Peace.